What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude, and let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Okay, so today we have this pretty interesting thing. This is like pieces of paper which resemble USD American dollars, which are used to start the fire, whether in your fireplace or for the barbecue, like you get the idea, right? But the interesting thing is, so you have these three pieces of paper, just three, right? You can get $1 bills, you can get $10 bills, you can get $100 bills, and this set of only three things cost 711 rubles, which is approximately a little bit more than $7. Now guys, let's think a little bit of math. So, you buy these fake $3 bills, three $1 bills for $7. So, $3 bills for $7. I mean, you already see where I'm going, right? So I don't think the ones who are getting bamboozled here are Americans with their capitalistic dollars. I think the ones who are getting bamboozled and tricked here are the Z patriots, who actually spent more money buying fake US dollars rather than just using the original ones. Well, this is the mindset of the Z propaganda. Well, what else can I do? But okay, it is always time to get serious. Now let's talk about Putin hinting, giving us assumptions, giving us predictions about his next potential successors. In fact, it's gonna be two of them. And then the Z army once again teaming up with Wagner. Then I'm gonna give you an update from the Eastern front line and this Kharkov offensive by Russians. So yeah, right, the purge inside Kremlin still continues. You probably guys remember this guy Mr. Konashenkov, who was like representative of the Ministry of Defense of Russia, who was usually presenting the updates from the front line, and obviously a lot of lying was involved. For example, he was saying like Russians repelled a Ukrainian attack, and in the process they destroyed 700,000 tanks. And then he was just like poker face, like we should believe him. So long story short, he resigned, and what a suspicious activity. Another senior official from the Ministry of Defense of Russia, Kuznetsov Yuri Vasilievich, he was also detained, allegedly for taking an exceptionally big bribe. But, the timing here is also suspicious. Besides that, two more representatives of the Ministry of Defense of Russia, Ruslan Salikov and Alexei Krivoruchka, they allegedly resigned only 1 week before this situation with Shoigu happened. Once again, what a coincidence. Once again, just 1 week. It looks like they had a crystal ball, they knew what's gonna happen, and coincidentally they resigned. But even further, this guy, Mr. Surovikin, so-called General Armageddon, you guys remember, we talked about him previous week. He allegedly did return from Africa to meet with some Kremlin representatives, potentially with Putin himself. What is so controversial about this guy is that he was a big supporter of Yevgeny Prigozhin and Wagner. And well, looks like right now, I mean, why would he arrive to Kremlin for no reason? Most likely there is an assignment or even an employment opportunity for him, which basically means that the Z army and Putin kind of forgave all the mistakes of Wagner and they decided to team up once again. But wait, there is more. You might remember the governor of Tula region, Alexei Dumin, who was meeting with President Putin right before Shoigu was fired, and people were even assuming he might be the next Minister of Defense. Well, apparently it turned out even better for this guy, because Putin recently assigned him as his personal assistant. And besides that, the ex-secretary of the Security Council of Russia, Nikolai Patrushev, who by already so many people was considered to be the most worthy successor of Putin, he also recently got appointed as pretty much the right hand, the shadow of Putin, his personal assistant, along with this guy Alexei Dumin. So long story short, what Putin is trying to tell us, he is presenting us with his two potential successors, either this Alexei Dumin or Nikolai Patrushev. And if I am to bet my money, I mean, first of all, obviously Putin will not for a single thing in the world surrender his power to somebody else, but anyways, if there is a successor possibility, this will most likely be taken by, in my personal opinion, Nikolai Patrushev. This guy was pretty much shadowing Putin almost his entire career. He knows everything. Some people even claim that potentially Patrushev takes a lot of decisions which Putin then highlights and that Putin makes official. And this guy Alexei Dumin only recently appeared in the picture. So pretty much, yes, there you have it, two potential successors for Putin. Guys, please let us know in the comments, who do you think can replace Putin in case this event happens. Now I'm gonna briefly give you an update from the east of Ukraine, and we're also gonna talk about the brand new Frontline, and finally the update on Kharkov offensive by Russians. But guys, before we continue, if you don't mind, can you please like this video, subscribe to my channel, it helps tremendously with the YouTube algorithm for this. Thank you so much. You can also check my second channel, The Russian Dude Investing, where I talk about the stock market news. The link to my second channel is down below. And so yes, to begin with, in Volgogradsky region, there was a Russian train carrying cisterns full of oil and gas. And well, apparently there was an attack by a drone, most likely Ukrainian, which resulted in partial destruction of this military supply. Then in Belgrade, the local residents reported some very loud noises last morning. And then right here from Terny is a very extraordinary video, which shows the entire raid of Ukrainians against their positions of Russians, and as you can guess, it was very successful. In Torske, Russian infantry with the support of their military vehicles, which to be honest is unusual, because usually just infantry in the open field. But okay, so long story short, they did try to assault the positions of Ukrainians, and this one ended in a complete failure. In Chasiv Yar, another attempt by Russians was made recently, but it was in time discovered by Ukrainian reconnaissance unit, and yes, it was also successfully repelled, not letting Russians advance any single meter. And then ultimately in Avdiivka, Ukrainians once again demonstrated the power of Bradley in support with the FPV drones, and they were able to destroy a Russian armored personnel carrier full of infantry. And by the way, all this footage, photos and videos which I'm showing in my episodes and more, fully uncensored, can be found on my Patreon, guys. The link is down below. But unfortunately, according to Kirill Budanov, he does has his personal intelligence that Russians are probably launching a brand new frontline, which we haven't seen in a very long time, and this one will be against Sumy region. According to him, this Kharkov offensive will most likely continue for another 3-4 days or a week, and then Russians will be slowly switching their attention, marching all the way from Kharkov to Sumy. And just like us guys, we already did this prediction long time ago, Kirill Budanov also confirms that the main purpose of this Russian northern offensive is to deplete the Ukrainian forces, to spread them thin, and to disperse their attention from Ukraine, from the eastern parts, and potentially from the southern parts, because this is where Russians are mainly focusing right now, but the defense of Ukrainians are just way too thick. So, by attacking from the north, they simply want to make Ukrainians relocate some of their forces to the north so that they can easier, let's call it like this, advance in the east, but once again, the chances, the probability of this happening, I do not think it's quite that high. And another confirmation that Russians are indeed trying to get away the attention of Ukrainians, specifically from the east, is that once again in Robotyne, Verbove frontline, activities by Russians increased recently. And since we did briefly mention Kharkov offensive, right now let me give you a very quick update what's happening there right now, because this is where the most intense activities are happening as we speak. First of all, unfortunately, yet another residential area in Kharkov has been destroyed and attacked by Russians. Next, we see already the second line of defenses of Ukrainians in Kharkov region, which is unfortunately a pretty controversial video, because a lot of people, specifically from the Ukrainian side obviously, they do complain that even though Kharkov representatives, they did mention that the first line of defense was fully completed, well, as you can see, it did not manage to stop the advancement of Russians. It was not that successful. Well, right here, once again, the video from the second line of defense. The most intense city where activities are happening right now is obviously Vovchansk, and as you can see, in less than a week, Russians used their favorite tactics, the same what happened in Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka, and well, unfortunately, this city is at the brink of being completely destroyed. But nevertheless, according to this compilation, Ukrainians continue to effectively destroy advancing Russian infantry and military vehicles. Besides that, the grey contested area unfortunately expanded recently with Russians capturing some more small settlements, such as for example Yakidne, a little bit more of Vovchansk in Khluboki, and then also Lukyansk, as you can see from this map. And just overall, right here is the 24 hours change in Kharkov front line. And yes, right now even more representatives, specifically from the west, they do see that potentially, yes, once again, Russians are not planning to capture that much of Kharkov region. First of all, the priority is to disperse the attention of Ukrainians, but then another important thing what people see is that Russians try to create a so-called buffer zone to move Ukrainians further away from the border to pretty much protect neighboring regions such as Belgorod and Kursk. And unfortunately, yes, in some way I can agree that this can be one of the relatively successful military operations of Russians all the way since the beginning of this so-called special military operation, because they are unfortunately achieving some sort of success. But well, in the past and right now still they do some ridiculous stuff, such as for example trying to camouflage their military vehicles and vessels, and they are doing it in a very clumsy and ridiculous way. Guys, let's talk about this right now. This will be a bonus chapter for my patrons, as of me of saying thank you for your support. If you want to see this bonus chapter and all the uncensored footage which I used in today's episode, once again go ahead and check my Patreon, link is down below. The best way to support the channel during these YouTube problems. Thank you guys so much. Well, there you have it. Thank you guys so much for your attention. Please subscribe to my channel if you did find this information useful. Don't forget about my second channel, The Russian Dude Investing. All the other useful links are down below. My PayPal, Patreon, Instagram, and obviously merch, hoodies, cases, shorts, pants. Everything is down below. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.